Land Planning Agency for Monday, October 6, 2025 may come to order. Please silence all cell phones. Roll call. Stephanie, please.
John Causey.
Here.
Thomas Bean. John Hall.
Here.
Stephen Yates.
Here.
Leroy Recraft. Curtis Hodges.
Yes, ma'am.
And Kip Holvershorn.
Yes.
And then I guess for the record, I'll say Jessie Thompson, and she's not here. Okay.
We have an approval of the agenda. City staff, do you have any changes to the agenda?
We do not. Thank you.
Thank you. Approval of minutes, there are none, so we will move forward. We now have time for public participation. In accordance with resolution number 11-89, a 3-minute limitation will be imposed unless otherwise granted by the Planning and Zoning Board. This is the opportunity to address any item not on tonight's agenda. If anyone would like to come up and address anything. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, my name is Kevin Schweitzer. I live at 880 Catfish Avenue, New Smyrna Beach, Florida, and my office is at 145 Canal Street. I think you have this in front of you. And what I'm here looking at is a text amendment for portico shares. And it sort of started as a variance, and then it got into, well, there's really an aesthetic improvement rather than a hardship. And it also rains in Florida. There's a history of all kinds of things that make sense to have a portico share in Florida. So I went to the staff, the planning zoning staff with Stephanie and Bob and Jake, and we worked throughout some text amendments. And so to do a text amendment rather than a variance. So anyhow, this is brought to you as a preliminary presentation. There'll be another presentation later on, but this is just to give you an idea of what we'd like to do. You have, on your drawings, there's an existing condition and there's new construction. And so we have two different options to look at, and then there's certain conditions that go with those options. So I'm not going to take up your time now, but I'm going to leave that with you, and I'm going to give Stephanie some cards that you can reach me at if you have any questions to go over it, but there will be another presentation in the future, from what I understand, to this board and then to the city commissioners for the text amendment.
Excellent.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public participation? Okay, public participation is closed. We will move on to old business. This is a public hearing for the variance to allow a proposed second floor deck to encroach 16.8 feet into the 20-foot front yard building setbacks. City staff, do you have a report?
I do. Hold on one second here while I pull this up. Okay, we have V625-2311 South Atlantic Avenue. This was continued in the past. We have Sally Leffler requested variance to allow a second-story balcony, currently 8.2 feet from the front property line, to encroach an additional 5 feet into the front yard setback, bringing the balcony 3.2 feet from the front property line, a variance of 16.8 feet. The property is zoned R3A. The lot is 50 by 100. Contains approximately 0.166 acres and is between South Atlantic and Hill Street, 2 parcels north of East 14th Avenue. So here's some pictures of the house. We got one looking east directly at the Hill Street frontage. And then another one that right of that there looking north. You can kind of see that the other next 2 homes are actually relatively close to the property line as well, actually a little bit closer than she is right now. And then kind of looking at it from the other angle, you could see where they are both, closer to Hill Street, and then she wants to go another 5 feet east of that. Again, as noted, the front yard setback on South Atlantic and Hill is 20. The eastern front wall of the house is 15.1 from the east property line with an existing second floor deck extending an additional 6.9 feet, bringing it 8.2 from the east property line, and then with a 3.2, it comes up to a variance of 84% of the 20-foot setback. So here's a picture of the survey. I kind of break it out for you what you're looking at. That's on the left side of that survey is the Atlantic side. It's actually set 46.9 feet off of Atlantic. That's only a 20-foot setback on that side. So obviously, this house is kind of geared more towards the Hill Street ocean side. House itself is 38 foot long. You have the porch, which should be 6.9 feet, and then another 5 feet, bringing it on that 100-foot wide lot, you bring it to 3.2 feet. So it's bringing it pretty close. And then that picture on the right is, looks like it's roughly 13 feet, a little less, from the kind of edge of the upper deck to the actual paved or the shell road. So while it's 3.2 feet, there is a little more room in between the road and where this balcony would be. Here's kind of how it would plan out to be another support column a little bit further east on it, and again, 5 more feet east of that. She does have the support of several of her neighbors. The owners of 2307 South Atlantic Avenue and 2312 Hill Street have indicated their support. We have 5 criteria we have to meet, though. Special circumstances exist which are peculiar to the applicant's land, structure, or building and do not generally apply to the neighboring land, structures, or buildings in the same district or vicinity. Now, I'm going to go with the bold, which are our responses. She has her own PowerPoint she's got together, so I'm going through ours. Again, parcels that front on 2 streets on opposite ends are known as through lots and have the same 20-foot setback in this particular zoning district. Again, this house was constructed on the east side of the lot with the deck on the second floor to take advantage of the proximity to the ocean. There is a lot of land on the west side of the house, but I think you want to have your deck so you could be closer to the water. Is there special circumstances? I don't see how there really is in this situation. There is a balcony already, and the whole house is actually closer than the setback than it should be. Strict application of the provisions of this LDR would deprive the applicant of reasonable rights commonly applicable to other properties in the same district or may preclude a benefit to the community in general. Again, the applicant has a 6.9-foot area of decking on the east second floor, although it is largely covered. There's not much room for sunbathing or enjoying yourself really out there besides maybe a little table or something. And again, there are other homes in the area that they have a similar situation where there's no covered deck, there's no real room to have any enjoyment out there, and it's kind of what the district has over there. So I would say this criterion has not been met either. C, special circumstances and conditions exist that do not result from the direct or indirect actions of the present property owner or past property owners. This criterion shall not be satisfied if the present or past property owner created to any degree the hardship that is the subject of this variance. And as I noted, the house already encroaches 11.8 feet or over about 59% into that setback. So this would bring it up to roughly 84, while it appears the subject parcel and the neighboring houses to the north did not receive variances to encroach into the setback. We kind of think that these were probably built either under current regulations, prior regulations, or just it might have been before it was even in the city. But again, I think the 5 foot is just too much for me to support. We don't see that this one has been met. The granting of the variance will not cause substantial detriment to the public welfare or impair the purposes of the intent of this LDR. I don't think it would really be a detriment to the welfare. It is a distance from the road. However, it would kind of impair the purposes and intent of the LDR. Basically, we already are encroaching over 50% into the setback. This brings it to 84%, which is it's a huge encroachment into the setback. I say this one has been partially met. The granting of the variance will not constitute a grant of special privilege that is denied by this LDR to other land structures or buildings in the same district. Again, the 2 structures to the north are considerably closer to the front property line than the 20-foot setback allows. That being said, we have no records indicating when these were made, if there was a variance or anything for it. Doesn't look like there has been. Could have been before our current zoning regulations were in place. I don't think this one has been met either. And unfortunately, while I get along with Ms. Leffler great, and it's been pleasant working through this whole thing, I just can't support her variance request. Any questions for me?
Any questions from the board?
All right.
Okay. Is the applicant representative present?
You go to this button right here, and that will advance it. Go to the back. Is that one right there?
Page down?
Don't do the arrow.
Oh, here, okay. Okay. Hi, thanks for having me. I feel like I came to a party or something, but appreciate all that you do. I feel like I'm going to repeat a ton of what he just said, but obviously I'm just trying to extend the second floor balcony of my house, the existing balcony that's only there by 5 feet. I feel like it's just a modest extension. I went and got tried to get a permit, thinking, oh, no problem, this will be great, and had to go through all this, and boy, do I know zoning now. Anyhow, I do understand what Jake's saying in the variance of 16.8, and he's not recommending it because it's way in there. But zoning laws were created to ensure safety, privacy, and aesthetics, and orderly development within a community. And these criteria may not always suit unique properties and situations. That's why I came here to have this variance discussion. I want you to know that Jake and I are good. I think he said that we have no negative thoughts toward each other. So whatever I say, I don't want want you to think it's derogatory towards him. My considerations is the balcony. It's just not a useful balcony. I can't even put out a chair. It's too narrow to have a table and a chairs out there. I want to just have, I don't know, he said something about sunbathing and all that. I don't really need to sunbathe. I've got my beach right there. I just want to use the deck, have dinner, do crafts with Lolly. Lolly wants to do crafts with her grandkids. Here is a picture of our table. It's 4 feet. I even thought I'd get a high top table and that it would work. But as you see, the table is jammed into the balcony and jammed into the sliders right there. I don't even want a high top table. I've got a 98-year-old mother. That's difficult for her to get into that, and my grandkids. But so you just can't put a table and chairs. I also know that he said something, or I read something about the front of the house. I could not put a balcony on the front of the house. I would definitely be in the privacy of the neighbors. I could look into their bedrooms. Also, additionally, we'd have to reconfigure the whole home. Right up here, there's 2 windows. That's our bedroom. So I would have to somehow make doors or sliding doors. That just wouldn't work. Additionally, it would just cost so much. I would have to reconfigure the whole house. I would also, what do I do with the balcony out the back? I got sliders. I'd still have to redo that balcony or get rid of it, and then the sliders would open up to nothing. And that, I'm sure, is a big code enforcement. Anyhow, I just want to have a nice beach view and be able to use my deck and be able to sit out there. I'm not requesting any roof line extension. It's just a 5-foot extension, which is the size of a bike. And I think I'd be very consistent with everyone else on Hill Street. Hill Street is so diverse. Even on Atlantic side of Hill Street, if you come from Chases down, all the houses are in, out, over, up, down. There's fences on the street, very close to the street, on both sides. It's just a minimum amount that I want, and as you see right here, we're going to do cable for our decking, so it will not impact the light or view or access of our neighbors. All the imposing homes that are around us that you can see, those, they're bigger than us, they're imposing us. And you see our neighbor, their garage is further out in front of us. The next house that's next to them, their roof line is further out than that we would be. Let me see. And Jake also said, which I'm repeating, my neighbors, on both sides of us, sent letters that said it's okay. They are fine with it. I know I had to send out a bunch of letters to property owners, and I've gotten nothing, to my knowledge, no one has objected to it. Public safety, it does not encroach into pedestrian or vehicular space, and it doesn't affect public or emergency access. Now, here, this is the big point again. The consistency with the character of the area. Hill Street has so much architectural diversity. It's a dirt road. You don't even know where the road is, honestly. As you can see with that picture, it's all over the place. What else? Well, my public safety aesthetics, I'm not going to hurt anything there. The other thing is, I mean, I don't know why all these other, and Jake brought it up, all these other neighbors, they're either out further than us or they're close to the road. They all said, well, we don't have surveys. We don't know why they are. Maybe they were grandfathered in or whatever. So be it. That's how it is on Hill Street. I understand that. So that's the way it is. I understand that if it's a cookie cutter neighborhood like Venetian Bay or even down towards Mexico on Atlantic Avenue, the houses are in a row and they're all good. But anywhere on Hill Street, they're all over. Oh, they're all over the place. So we're not cookie cutter. And here's another view of houses that are even further down north from us. As you see, the walls are very close to the road. There's a house that's very close to the road. Right over here where the garbage cans are, that's a pool. And I get that the setback, because I've learned all this, that the setback for ground floor or surface improvements is only 5 feet, which doesn't make sense to me because I think a car could drive right into that pool while they're driving down that street, but we won't go there. They just don't have surveys for all these things, but I have a survey and I'm not allowed to do it. I just don't think that's right. The second story setback is 20 feet, and I know that's the rule, but why is that such a strict rule? Because to protect neighbors' privacy and their view. I'm not in their view. I'm not going to obstruct them. They are more obstructive to me, as you can see. And here we have no survey. So here's a picture of my neighbor who's standing there holding a piece of wood to where the extension would be. I would be equal to his garage. And this house further, the roof line would extend beyond where my balcony would go. And that's my neighbor Scott helping because he doesn't care. I mean, that's just the uniqueness of Hill Street. It's just different. Now, I know Jake's looking at the measurements and the city looks at the measurements, and I understand the measurements that they have. But zoning was created to ensure safety, privacy, aesthetics, and orderly development within a community. I have safety. Privacy is fine. I'm not going to go into anyone's privacy zone. And the orderly part of it, well, it's an unorderly neighborhood. It's an unorderly street. And the criteria that you guys use may not always fit into all the boxes. It's a unique property situation. And with Hill Street, all the way up and down both sides. So when I was doing all this, I was just like, I couldn't understand why I have to fight for this balcony. I just thought, wow, what's a big deal? It's gonna just be beautiful. Then Jake came and put up, or somebody came and put up this sign, this public notice sign. And people were like, what, 3.2 feet from the, what is it called? The
Right of way.
Yeah. From the road or what am I looking for?
Right away.
Right away, okay. And then we're all like, wait. And then all I said was, Jake knows what he's doing. They know, they do it all the time, it's okay. But I'm sure it's gonna be beautiful. The aesthetics, it's just gonna be nice. Okay, so here's what happens. Here's what I see. Here's that blue line that nobody sees. It's that elusive blue line. I see those red lines going down each side there as well on the east side of the house. So I'm like, are those the roads? And that's the middle line, which that really isn't the middle line, as you can see. It's not quite in the middle there. And that top red line is so far in, it's running through our mailboxes. So I drew a line here, that's the orange line, that is the real line. That's through our mailboxes. There's the tree and the bushes are right there. His blue line is there at my second stone. That's so far in. That's just not even true. I don't even think that's real. Here again, it shows the arrow pointing to that. And then you can see my neighbor's lawn goes way, both sides, goes way out into what would be the road, I guess. But I don't think any of that's completely true. And here again, here that white line right there is where my extension would be. There's that elusive survey line, and there's the real line. I don't even know if it's there. It might even be further out because of the grass of the neighbors. And right there where that orange line is, that is like 8 feet 10 from my extension. So that's that's a big distance from where the measurements supposedly are. So I just feel like that's the truth of the matter. Not that Jake is wrong or the city's wrong, it's just that's how it's situated on Hill Street. Because it's such a unique property, or a unique neighborhood, that's where the charm and everything comes from. I believe the request is reasonable and keeping in both the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance and zoning practices implemented prior and before and whatever on Hill Street, because it's unique. Zoning ordinances are designed as general rules rather than detailed answers for every specific scenario. I think there's room for interpretation, and I'm hoping you guys, the zoning authorities, can use methods of interpretation to clarify these ambiguities and apply it to my situation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions?
Is that it?
I have a question.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just say that it did get approved. Would you have any objections of signing an agreement saying I would never close that in on the top or the bottom and to keep the deck open so the water could drain through it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, just a question.
Yep, absolutely. I don't want to.
What are you going to do underneath the patio? What is your plan to do underneath the new patio?
Right now, there's just dying bushes underneath there.
Yeah.
I'll just probably remove those. and
Would you clean that up and make it look
Yeah,
pretty?
make it look nice, make it look pretty. I actually, if I could find some landscaper that would call me back and follow up, I'm ready to do it anytime, but, yeah, right now, they're really dead. They look good in those pictures, but they're bad now.
I just have a question, ma'am. How long have you owned the house?
9 years? 8 years.
Okay, thank you.
Almost. And the other thing is all my complaints were, because nobody else has surveys, but I have a survey, and so now I can't do what I want, but everyone else doesn't have a survey, or was grandfathered in, and I don't know. I don't think anybody's gonna look at that and walk by and go, oh my gosh, they're sticking out, because I'm not sticking out, and oh my gosh, that's just terrible compared to these other houses that are looming and all over the place. I just think it will just fit with the whole property and the whole situation of Hill Street. It's different, it's unique. So I'm asking for your consideration of that.
Thank you.
Good?
Yes,
Thanks. Too bad presenter.
Yes. You did great. I will open up, public participation is open. 3-minute limitation is imposed unless otherwise granted by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Good evening. I'm Pam Isom. I live in the beautiful Riverside Garden District at 624 North Riverside Drive. I am in favor of the variance for Sally and Glenn's property because it does match what is already existing there on Hill Street. It is a lot of different elevations over there, and people have done things to those properties over the year, with or without zoning. I think probably with or without permits, Jake, but that's another story for another time. I think with Glenn's experience with construction and design, they will build a beautiful property. There's an addition there. Sally has a real eye for the aesthetics. They're not looking to build this deck to compete with Chases and have wild parties and happy hours. They're building this deck so that when Lolly's littles come over from Tampa, she has a place to entertain her grandchildren. And as she mentioned, she's got a mom that's approaching 95 years old, and it would be great to have the mom sit out there and enjoy our beautiful environment. So I'm in favor, and I hope you guys can see through it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Devine, 3205 Hill Street. And I just wanted to attest to the unique nature of Hill Street. And I would definitely agree that she has a lot of good points. It's a different neighborhood, it's a different street. And I would recommend that we look at this very, very seriously, and I would approve it as a neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks to candidate Devine for making that statement. The applicant made a really great presentation, honestly, and covered, a wide range of points. Many of them are very valid. The only question I have for you, and I'd really like to be educated on this in your deliberation, is I've always understood from prior zoning chairs that it is not allowed to build on an existing non-compliant property. And so if I'm understanding all the measurements correctly, however this property got into non-compliance, and it may have been before the current owners owned it, or it may have been subsequent, it doesn't really matter, but extending this non-compliance is what, again, unless someone can state otherwise, is not something that we're allowed to do. So it's not being mean, it's not a personal opinion, it's not debating that, it would be beautiful to have a wire and wood railing, but just that I think when the ordinance was changed, if we were to look it up, it was to start to corral in what new owners, what knockdowns, what other folks do, which they do when a beach town starts to get full. So not trying to be mean-spirited or anything like this. I prefer to say yes than no, but I'm struggling to find a logical and legal basis to grant this particular variance. So if you can share your thoughts on that, I think that'd help everybody going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Glenn Leffler. Appreciate your time. Sally and I bought this house November of 17. I can assure you that the house was permitted correctly because I'm a contractor. I was a licensed contractor for 34 years until I decided to be done with the business a few years ago. There is no way this house was built and then later sliders added. There's no evidence of that. We renovated the house a couple years ago. It was built and approved. It didn't get built overnight in the city of New Smyrna somehow with a balcony or the balcony added on later. That's not the case. And to say this is an existing violation is sort of preposterous. If anyone were to see this situation, the house was built with that porch there. It had to be built more east because of the drive side on Atlantic that's probably 8-10 feet above the road. I think it's a little bit of a misrepresentation that the setback is, that we're that close to the setback. When you look at these pictures here, the real road is out where the grass stops. No one drives this side of that, west side of that grass. They're out there. So where we drew that orange line was to connect to the mailboxes. I think, Jake, is the blue line where you're saying the property or the setback? What's that blue line? Please.
I didn't put the blue line on there. What that, I think that is when the county does their mapping, they're trying to snap a square grid on a round planet, and it just doesn't line up properly. So with the blue line is just, it's.
Forget
not
it, forget it.
accurate.
So the reality is the road is out there by the grass. That's the usable road. The white little mark is where the balcony would extend 5 feet further out. And so you're at least 10, 12 feet from where any road traffic is, and you're elevated 10 feet above that. Nothing's getting in the way of that. And again, I wasn't even going to speak. I think Sally and Pam did a great job here, but to say that this is an existing violation that shouldn't be allowed is a total misrepresentation. The fact is that that house was built with that balcony, guaranteed 100%, 50 years ago. It wasn't added on, anything like that. And again, our neighbors, the two people most affected on either side of us have written letters and said, this is not a problem for us. I don't know who else would be more affected. We had to send maybe 20 certified letters out. No one, to my knowledge, said, hey, we object. I think when we build it and rebuild it, we have to build it anyway. We have to redo it. I think that gets in another situation. When other people down the way with other situations that are encroaching and they go to rebuild, you go, oh no, you can't rebuild. You're already encroaching. You got to tear that down. That's kind of ridiculous. It's so benign. I'm surprised we're even here talking about it. I understand the process and so forth. But once we do it, no one's going to stand there and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that was allowed to happen. It needs to be rebuilt, number one, anyway. I won't be doing it because I decided I'm not going to be a contractor anymore. I'm tired of that stuff. So I will hire somebody and they'll do it right. And I've got plans drawn up because I thought it was a nothing burger. Am I done on time?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you for your time.
If no more public commentary, the board have any questions, any further discussions?
Yeah, I tell you what, I struggle with the same thing. I'm sure everybody does here, how it's encroaching on it. But when I did look down the line, I drove over and looked at it and seen how the other properties protruded out into the same area. That is one thing, and really it's all about the neighbors too. If the neighbors don't have a problem with it, and if our city did send out all these letters to all the other people in the area, they had an opportunity to come in to object to this. And I myself have a deck on the back of my house, and I really feel like as long as it's open and let the water go down and percolate into the ground, and they do not want to, and we will put it in writing that they cannot enclose it, roof it, underneath it, it stays just an open deck, then I'm pretty good with it.
You could make that a condition as part of.
I will,
Okay.
thank you.
Also, I think we should be clear, I think what they're saying is the house is currently not under code, not that anything was built after the fact, but that the regulations now don't allow for that much space between the street. Not that somebody built it illegally, but the current code.
I don't think the house was built illegally. The
Right.
way it's laid out, it was built just the way it was meant to.
Yeah, but currently,
Yeah,
you
it
would have to
is.
be further back if you build a new house, is what they're saying. That's all that they're saying.
So that would be considered a legal non-conforming.
Correct.
Right, so it was
Yeah.
properly built
At the time.
at the time.
It's now non-conforming. That's all they're saying is. we've
Per the
changed
current zoning.
We've changed the current zoning to more space needed between the street and the house. That's all that they're saying. Not that anybody did anything wrong. Want to make that clear so you knew that's what we're saying.
Could I get some clarification from legal counsel about this non-conforming, not allowing a variance, the comment that was made, is that, I thought the question was, you can't have a variance on a non-conforming property.
No, that's not. The issue before you in a quasi-judicial hearing is based on the competent substantial evidence you've heard this evening as presented by staff and any competent substantial evidence presented by the applicant. Do they meet the criteria for a variance?
Okay.
And so if you look at those 5 criteria, those should be answered within there. Don't worry about the non-conforming. It's just whether or not they meet the standards.
Does the applicant have any further comments?
Can I talk to council also?
You may.
Okay, it doesn't line up with the quasi-judicial. I mean, it's been next. My question is is there trouble? Should we vote yes on this? Is it, what kind of situation does it put the city or us in any, of any sort? What's that? No, I know. I mean, we could vote this in. And it,
As a planning and zoning board, you should each vote how you feel this should be decided. The effects of that would be outside your considerations tonight. What I'm saying is look at the criteria, consider the evidence, and make your decision on the record based on the evidence that's been presented to you this evening.
Yes, we have some criteria to follow. Staff gives their opinion on those criteria. That's it. And the applicant. Any discussion by the board anymore? Anything else? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the requested variance?
A motion to approve the variance V625 22311 South Atlantic Avenue. A variance allowing the second floor to encroach 16.8 into the 20-foot setback in the front yard.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
And just one point of order, is there a,
Oh, please, yes, thank you.
A condition.
And if this does go through, then I would make sure that we put in a stipulation not allowing it to be covered.
You amend it, you gotta amend it.
Amend it,
You're amending your motion.
So you're going to create a new motion.
create a new motion.
You're amending.
Curtis Hodges, create a new motion.
No, amend it, amend the motion.
I'm going to amend the motion, thank you.
Yes, and then add your conditions.
To make sure that we install in this not allowing the deck to be closed in underneath or a roof over top it, and the deck to be spaced out where the water will go through and go down to the ground.
John, are you good with that?
I need a second for that.
John, do you want to say?
I second it.
Stephanie, please call roll vote.
No discussions? You're good? Okay.
Discussed.
All right, we've got Member Hodges,
Yes.
Member Hall,
Yes.
Member Causey,
Yes.
Member Holvershorn,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Yates.
Yes.
On the motion to approve V-6-25, 2311 South Atlantic, with the conditions as stated, the vote is 5 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes.
Excellent. This is a review and a recommendation to the City Commission to approve the final plat of the Flagler Dunes residential subdivision. City staff, do you have a report?
I do. I'm going to treat the subdivision final plat Flagler Dunes and the site plan for Flagler Dunes at the same time, because they're basically, it's the same report here.
So he's going to give one presentation, but at the end of, we will vote separately for the site plan and separately for the final plat.
Correct. So here it is. I kind of highlighted the parcels that we're discussing here today. It's on the south side of the high school there, those 3 pieces. We have applicant Roger Stricula, engineer, property owners Alicio and Norma Pena. This property is 10.323 acres. It's on the south side of 10th. Again, as noted, across from the high school, and it is east of Daytona State College. To the south is the Cabordi Canal, which dates back to the Trimble era. 80 townhouse units. The buildings vary in size from 4 to 8 units. The units are 20 feet wide. There is a sidewalk throughout the development and along 10th Street on their property. And there's a little pickleball court there, as I pointed out. There are internal roads are private. Again, 10th Street, though, is a county right-of-way. All improvements in the 10th Street right-of-way were agreed to between a developer and the county. Kind of our jurisdiction ends at the property lines. What goes on in the street gets worked out between a developer and Volusia County. Again, I noted the sidewalks around their property. This is a recent change. It's going to require a little bit of a review of the plat. It doesn't really affect a whole lot, really, other than it used to be in the right-of-way and the county wanted it on their property. So the changes are minor in their review. This property is zoned R4, which is a multifamily, and the future land use is mixed dense, medium density residential, or 8 units an acre. And I should note here, several years ago, you guys saw this property as a future land use change. The eastern half of it used to be high density residential, which allowed 18 units an acre, and the other side was medium density residential. So it was closer to like 110 units originally allowed, but they were trying to do a similar housing type, so they made it even all the way across the board with the medium density residential. There is, and this is through the county, what they required. This is basically kind of show you where the traffic flow is going to go. See, on the east side there, it's going to be a right in and right out. And kind of where the high school entrance is, there will be emergency access, and then there's a crosswalk for people to cross the street to get to the other side of 10th right there. Flagler Dunes Stormwater Management, this is from our engineer, sent me this information. Pond was designed and permitted to meet current St. Johns River Water Management District and city requirements. The project post-development discharge runoff rates and volumes are less than pre-development conditions. The existing tidal conditions within the Gabordi Canal were also considered during the stormwater design and modeling. And existing soils when the proposed impervious roads and buildings areas are type A, which they drain well per the geotechnical investigation that was conducted. Here's the kind of the general look of them. These are just the 5 and 6 unit ones for an example. And trip generation. As summarized in the title, table 1, there are 80 townhouse units. The development is expected to generate 559 daily trips a day. Your peak hours, in the morning hours when you're leaving for work or whatever, be 9 people coming in and 27 going out. And then the PM, kind of like your return time, it's 26 in and 18 out. We recommend, as it meets the R4 requirements for the lot size, for everything else that we require, we recommend approval of the site plan and then the subdivision approve. We recommend that you recommend the City Commission approve the subdivision with the condition that the new sidewalk location is reviewed and approved by the city's third-party plat review surveyor. And that's my report, and we have an applicant here who's willing to add more.
I guess, Jake, you mentioned that the tidal conditions on the canal were existing. Is there any effort to project future tidal conditions with sea level rise, or are you staying?
That would have to be that for the engineers. I can't get into that too much myself. I'm not qualified to answer that question. We do not have an engineer here from the side, but Roger Stricula is here. It is a historic canal, though. And they are intended to meet all their stormwater requirements on site. So it's not supposed to drain into the canal. I can go back to the layout, which kind of shows you where the stormwater is. You see on the east side, there's the big retention pond, and then they have them going down the sides as well. Anything else for me?
Is that a retention pond in the back corner over here on the left in the photograph? What is that?
That is, if I could blow this up a little bit here. Yeah, that is a retention and a natural area that's being left in there as well.
I just have one more question. And I do love to hear the word pickleball. Maybe the people in the neighborhood might not like it, but I'm a big fan of it. Once that's in this photograph, not like, and I hate to even bring the Venetian Bay up because it just makes that seem like a bad neighborhood, but once that's in here, there's no way the developer can take it out and also this clubhouse, correct? Like
no, they wouldn't.
They didn't complete that
it's a
over
plat.
there.
It's a plat, so they'd have to
So this will
amend
be a
it.
plat, okay.
You'd actually have to come back for a public meeting if they were going to try to do something
Okay, all right,
like
very
that.
good.
What are the open space requirements on this sort of a project?
Well, the R4 zoning, basically what you have is you have the lots, and then the remainder of it is open space, and I believe they are slightly over 50% of the site is open. Yes.
Is it correct that they could build a lot more units on this property than what they are?
Initially, before they did
Additionally.
that high density residential, they were allowed to have about 30 more units on there, but they actually took it down to 8 units an acre, but they're basically built out to that 8. So initially, if they left it, they could have made the east side a little more high density, and then the other side would have had to be more what you have now. So they did decrease it for some uniformity throughout the lot. So it is about 30 housing units less than they could have initially.
Yeah, I did like the way I seen, at least having garages, some place to put your belongings, not
Mhm.
like I seen on one other subdivision in this town that was allowed.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like there's any additional parking. And
Other-
by the developer's data here, it says that they're accounting 2 cars per unit, 1 in the garage and 1 in the driveway.
There is, the roads are wider than the minimum requirements, so they can have street parking as well, though. So there is street parking opportunities.
Is there any guest parking requirement for this particular development?
No, this is not like a PUD. This is just straight zoning, people's fee simple ownership lots. So it is kind of like a regular city street, but all the roads are private. It's not like a PUD where we have to have, it could require that type of thing. But there is street parking.
Go ahead, sir.
Remind me again why it's not a PUD and with an MDA?
They just, because it meets the R4 regulations, because, you could do houses in the R4 zoning, and that's what they went with, and it meets the minimum requirements. They just chose not to go with a PUD.
It seems like this works well for apartments, but if they're going to be sold individually, you have common.
These are
structures.
individually sold.
Okay. So.
What is the width of the street to be able to park in it? Because if they're going to park out there, then,
I believe these are 50-foot wide.
okay, all right,
I can verify that with Roger when he comes up.
thank you.
Any more questions for staff? Is the applicant present?
Here's your stuff here, Joey.
Good evening, Joey Posey, 420 South Nova, and my presentation is very brief. The only thing that I think I wanted to just echo what Jake had mentioned is some of the history, but he touched on that, so I really don't need to, other than that it originally was at 18 units per acre, and that there was a negotiation to try to bring down the number of units to find a way to do this project nice and in a feasible layout too. And really, the only reminder is that there's really only one question we're asking when it gets to this stage, since it's already been vetted through the zoning process, and when it comes before you, it's an application of code and whether it meets really the LDR standards, and that is where we're at, and that's why it took a few years to get here. We have a recommendation of approval from the city staff. It meets all the regulations. It's consistent with the underlying zoning and the comp plan, and that's why there's a recommendation of approval. And the same is true of the site plan. I also made a point to point out that there's a pickleball amenity, because I thought that was a plus for the community. And other than that, that's really everything. Outside of anecdotal final site plan or final plats and who has jurisdiction to review them, but that's a here nor there question. It's a very simple application of just the code in a vacuum. Does it meet the minimum standards? And we do have the traffic engineer and we have the project engineer are available. We're happy to answer any questions. It's just within the lens of what's the scope of the review, which is simply the application of the code and how the standards lay out. So I'm here for any questions, and we're happy to call up the engineers if there's any specific questions that you're curious about.
Any questions from staff?
Yes. Are you using the light at the high school to go in and out of? I wasn't sure, wasn't trying to figure out how this comes in and goes out.
No, that's not correct. No, we're not. We were really directed by the county to put it where the location is as it currently sits as part of our use permit. Initial discussions and layouts presented at the light. The county told us essentially that We're not interested in that unless we upgrade the mast arm for another $800,000, since we've designed it that way, so we would prefer it there. And we said, okay, we'll apply the rules that you want us to apply.
So, because I was wondering about that when you come out at that light, because I went over to look at it, and when I was seeing that, so you're going to be to the east of that light.
Correct.
And are you turning both ways?
Good evening, Chris Walsh of Walsh Traffic out of DeBerry, Florida. So it's going to be a right in, right out. So if you're coming from the west, you can make a right in. If you want to go back to the west, back by the high school, you have to make a right out and then go do a U-turn at the next intersection, which has the left turn lane. You can go do a U-turn to go back by the high school. And then, if you want to go to the east, obviously you can make a right out. If you're coming back from the west, that's the challenge. We wanted to get a left turn in. The county would not allow a left turn at the driveway. So the nice thing is that being a residential development, people are smart. They'll figure out what's the right way. Destinations over to the east aren't going to be as likely, but they'll figure out, let's go more up towards Old Mission and destinations over that way. So, but they didn't want they didn't want a left turn in because of its proximity to the signal.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I don't like. I do like the way you've built it now. I actually voted against this in the previously, and I do like what you have there now, your layout, and really not just about the pickleball. It's great that you have it, but it's a good-looking little development you have. But I don't like that you can't turn left because, look, you're going to 95. Which way do you want to turn? Left. You want to go quick to, out of there, go to Publix up that way, wherever, you go left. So.
Any other questions? Thank you. Public participation is now open.
Bonnie Davenport. I live at
Thank you.
117 Fran Drive, New Smyrna Beach. But I'm here on behalf of my brother who lives at 1133 Pearl Street, which is right on the corner of Josephine and Pearl. And this is just exactly what we were talking about. And what he just said was it was expected to go do a U-turn to go around. Well, there is nowhere to do a U-turn. They would be turning into people's driveways and turning around to go back into this development. You would have to either go into Pearl Street or Tatum and turn into people's driveways and turn around and go back into this development. I travel that road all the time. You're impacted by the high school kids twice a day. You've got the people from Newport Sound. You've got the people from DBCC that travel that road, and it would be a traffic hazard to expect people that live in this development to do a U-turn to get back into their properties. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm J.D. Smith. I live on Tatum. I've been there 47 years, same house. And let me tell you, y'all have built this place up to where it's almost, the traffic's terrible. You got a high school, a college, and a middle school. And if you think these people are going to go up there, make a U-turn in those apartments by the high school to go back to 95, to Publix, to any stores, they're not going to do it. The traffic's atrocious. 8 o'clock in the morning, you ain't getting out on Josephine. You're not going to do it because the high school is packed. They're backed up on Edgewater Canal Road, waiting to get to the high school. Now, you're going to add 80 new townhouses? What? This traffic's crazy. 8 o'clock in the morning, you can't get out. Noon, you can't get out because they're all going to lunch, because apparently the school don't serve a good lunch. 3:30 in the afternoon, you ain't getting out because they're all hauling butt to get down to Wawa or somewhere after school or go home. The traffic is terrible right there on Josephine, 10th Street, whatever you want to call it. But if you think people are going to go out there to the college entrance, make a U-turn just to go shopping, that's not going to happen. This is crazy. I mean, it don't need to be that way. If they have to spend some money for a red light, and they got all that money to build this place, let them put another red light in there. But this is insane, making people make a U-turn. The traffic's just atrocious. I mean, during the daytime, it's terrible. If you go anywhere, you have to go on a Saturday or Sunday. It's the only time you can get out. And to put 80 townhouses, that property, I've lived there, like I said, 47 years. It's been a quiet place. We put up with the schools, that's fine. But now you're going to add 80 townhouses? That's insane. And as far as that goes, people in the area, nobody even knows on my street or Pearl Street or any of them other streets, Elizabeth, they don't know there's condos, apartments in there. Nobody has put a sign up saying they're building anything. They're still got for sale signs on their property. And we're here now going, oh yeah, this is going to be the final, let them build it. That's nuts. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Pat Scott. My daughter works at that college over there, and that is dangerous.
You need to speak in the
do
mic,
that.
ma'am.
I've been
Ma'am.
around there so many
Could you
times.
please speak into the mic so that we can have it?
Yeah.
Name and
so we can
address.
hear you.
Oh, 112 Eddie Road, sorry.
Yeah, just speak in the mic, though.
112 Eddie Road. Sorry, I should know better.
Okay.
What I was going to say was, my daughter works over at the college, and, I go up that way a lot because I dog sit over that way, and it's terrible between the train going through, and then you'll sit at that train for a long period of time. So now you got people turning around and doing this and doing that, and it's very dangerous. And those are all kids, college kids, middle school kids, young people at that Newport Lounge. Some of them don't even have any, Newport apartments over there. Most of those people are either young or older, and they their income is low, so they're trying to get in and out of there, and they've got this other thing going on. It's not a good idea. It really isn't.
Thank you. If there's no more public participation, it is now closed. City staff, do you have any further comments? No more questions from the board? Applicant have any further comments? Please.
At least try to address some concerns. Joey Posey, 420 South Nova. Just to quickly reiterate, a lot of that jurisdictional control is county. And, we've gone back and forth with them extensively. This is the design that they want. And, I mean, within our control, I can only do so much, but the permitting process and how they dictate the traffic flow here is both, one, engineering and design, and the county's permitting and control and requirements for how they design the road. And again, the engineer is willing to testify again that the way it's designed, I do understand, and I can respect where the residents are coming from. One, I do probably disagree that this wasn't a surprise. We did have a townhome layout. I think that even went through the rezoning process when we originally did this. But again, he can speak to the specifics. If there's a specific concern that we can try to address or at least help with, we're happy to. But a lot of this is out of our control in the hands of the county and their permitting process.
Understood. Thank you. Discussions or questions by the board?
Yes, I came from Mission Road to find this property because I was curious to know where it's at. And I missed the property because I was looking for a sign too, whoever brought that up. And I missed it, and I'm going, oh, where do I go now? Do I have to go down and cut across the railroad track and U-turn and come back? But I found out there's a little short street a little turn right before it. And I love the development. I like everything about it. If you guys could work out, this is my opinion, I'm not telling you what to do, but if you could work out to get that where you could use the light, I could go with this. But I know what they're talking about because I ride the bike up that street and then turn left by the school and take the Edgewater Trail. And there is a lot of traffic there. And everybody's going to pull out of there, and they're going to make that U-turn and turn back around and in that traffic with those kids coming out of there. And we were all young at one time. We know that we just are not thinking about everything. They'll be just flying down the road and make the turn. I love the development, everything about it. If you could just figure out your problem with that traffic light, because it is going to cause a problem, and it might cause an accident for somebody's kid in that trying to do a U-turn right there.
Some of us are still young, by the way. Do we have a traffic policy where if things get heavy, we work with the county to install new lights? If they see there's a problem, I assume that that's a organic evolution of the streets changes?
Well, this is a county road, so the city has no jurisdiction on this road. When this light was put in for the school, that was an initiative by the school district because they were seeing issues at that intersection.
Understood.
And so the school district pioneered that movement.
Sure.
They got the county involved, the city involved, I think even Edgewater involved. So this being a county road, they really do have the jurisdiction on what goes.
Understood.
We can make recommendations, we could, talk to them about, their traffic engineers create the plans for how their streets are going to flow.
Understood.
And in this case, I believe they did say, we'd like you to put in the light, and if the light's not gonna work, here's your alternative. So then it becomes between the developer and the county.
Understood.
Did they have the option to put in the light? Was the developer given the option to put in the light?
I'd let.
And was given
Sure,
two
if you-
options? I don't care. That's what
Guys, you can't.
No, we were talking about
Yes.
football.
I missed the question, I apologize.
Speaking to the microphone, Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. The question was, did you have two options? One was the way it was laid out, or did they give you the option of putting in a traffic light? And I understand the expense.
Right.
But was that given as an option?
I'm going to defer to the project engineer since he had those direct discussions. He'll probably be able to speak more intelligently to that. I do want to say that, we're happy to have those continued discussions with the county. I don't think there's any reluctance on our part. It's just, depending on the outcome and depending on the appetite of the county, we are dictated by their permitting. And that's something I can't control. I've made probably 3 or 4 attempts within the last 2 meetings that have been delayed for simply this discussion that has not been taken up by the county. So I just want that to be clear that, we're happy to have and engage in those discussions, and if that's a recommendation moving forward, that we continue to engage and have those discussions, I have no problem with that. I just don't want to expect the outcome to be that the county has to come to the table, because at the end of the day, it's their permitting process, and they can dictate it the way they choose, as long as it's within the bounds of their legal requirements. So I at least want to mention that, and then I'll let the project engineer speak to the specifics of that discussion that occurred on how we ended up here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's an important backstory, because initially this project was to have we were actually looking at having 2 driveways, which was the right in, right out, and then actually connecting to the signal. And we had designed the traffic signal modification that was required, and even having a left turn lane, and worked with them. And one of the unique challenges of that location is you have, if you're going westbound, you have a merging lane coming up to that signal. So that kind of created some unique nuance. And we actually had to design, worked with them to get that all put into place. And we were modifying the existing, it's what we call a strain pole signal out there. And so you have kind of those are just the poles and the wires versus the mast arms, which are the large steel tubes. Well, they claim, we were there, and then we gave them the plans. And after our second or third submittal, they then said, well, we want to replace this full signal, which was, as you all know, was built, 2-3 years ago. We want you to replace this entire signal with mast arms, which is it's a $600,000 to $700,000 to $800,000 compared to $100,000 to $150,000 improvement. And that is a substantial change, which is, well, why did you not build a mast arm in the first place versus just trying to throw it on the developer? And so then as we talked about it, we said, well, could we possibly go with the left end? And they actually said, well, yeah, we can go over to the driveway to the east and get rid of this connection at the signal and we can give you a left in. And then as we went through and submitted, then they said, well, no, we don't want you to have the left in. So we've gotten, so then, naturally we're like, you gotta be kidding me. And so we weren't excited about it, but as we thought about it being residents, and I hear people talking about the issues of the school, and I totally understand that. But, these residents are gonna be as smart as anybody to figure out when to avoid that school traffic. So that's the other part of all this is these people will be figuring out, are you gonna have your 20-year-old driver that's gonna do whatever he wants? You can't stop it, you can't design for those. But the other part that's interesting is when you look at the travel to and from this development over to people that want to come back 10th Street westbound, where are they coming from? Well, if you go to 44 at Palmetto, that distance, or if you look at I went to Google Travel app, the apps. If you look at the navigation app, it's almost the same to go US 1 to 10th versus 44 to Old Mission. So people are going to go, okay, well, that's kind of the magic point where I've got my alternative route. I don't even worry about 10th Street. And then kind of when you get close to US 1 at Park, same thing. You can kind of go, Park Street becomes a smidge longer, maybe a minute or two. But again, residents are going to learn, I don't want to go to those destinations over there. So I understand the concern, and we understand the concern. But I think being at residential versus like a commercial, where you have people that would just kind of do whatever they want to try and go get a burger or a shop, the residents will figure out how best to navigate with what they're provided. So, but I think that backstory was really important because we were there, but then all of a sudden the game changed on us, and we kept changing again, and finally we said, okay, we'll go with what you're giving us. So that's the backstory.
Thank you. It just helps us with clarity of the background, the limitations, and the work that you've done.
Yes.
So I appreciate it.
Sure.
Any more questions from the board? Is there a motion to recommend approval of the requested final plat?
It doesn't mean you own it, you just gotta say it.
Is there a motion to recommend approval of the requested final plat?
Please, would you?
The final plat is a recommendation to City Commission. This is you're not approving or denying a final plat at this point. You're making a recommendation to City Commission to approve or not approve a final plat.
Question, is there any way that we can add some language to this that would carry any weight from the city going back to the county to revisit this in another way because of concerns we have regarding egress? Is that possible to do that?
And that's what I was alluding to earlier, that I have no problem carrying forth a recommendation with language identifying the issue you guys see as a concern, which would be the layout and the county's either reluctance or engagement on the issue. And I do think that would probably help move the needle, at least with the discussion, and see if that would create an engagement since they hear from a board saying the same thing. I have no problem with that, to see if we can get them back to the table to see what the options are. Because
my
at this
question is
point,
further for the planning staff and the legal staff. Will the county even listen to this? I mean, the county just said, it's our road, we'll do what we want. I mean, have examples of this occurred in the past where a municipality has gone to the county and said, you know what, you ruled this way and made these recommendations, but we'd like you to rethink it from these perspectives? I mean, is there a chance of something happening?
Again, this is the county's jurisdiction. I don't know that we've had a situation in the past where we've moved forward continuing to make recommendations to the county. When they make their recommendation, it usually sticks with what they're looking for and the layout, the design, the flow. And that's what their permit will reflect with the county.
Yeah, this is my first time with this, and I understand where everyone's coming from with the light thing as well. I've emailed the county engineer on this topic myself, and on that last one, it was about a week and a half ago, he didn't even respond to me, but I think we were all kind of liked that idea in the first place. But yeah, they haven't been giving any sway at all.
Would it make us feel comfortable to recommend communication from the city to the county when they do see it, just as a added recommendation from the board?
Are you saying us approve it now and then let them go? Or are you saying for them?
I'm saying approve it with,
pull it for 30 days to talk to the county to try if they can move, see if they can work something out? I'm not sure
Just,
what you.
just an amendment to ask the city to reach out and communicate with the county again to see if they would look into it. Just
Well, to do that, I think we'd have to table this for now.
Yes, sir.
Till that discussion, we had the results of whatever came about.
Well, this is maybe my, getting punished for some good faith, because that was what actually the last two meetings of not being considered here was an attempt to do. It didn't necessarily have the voice of this body to back it up, but, the reluctance I have is that it puts us in a catch-22, because from the perspective of the code and from the perspective of permitting, it meets the requirements. So in good faith, I'm happy to have those discussions, but if those discussions don't become fruitful, do we come back here and have the same discussion and then where do we end up? And that's the problem I guess I'm trying to work through and trying to get us to a point where, we can have that, if this moves the needle and we can have that discussion with the county, great. I'm happy to do it. The council has, or the commission as a reviewing body can take that as part of their consideration and make sure that whatever discussions come out of this are also incorporated in their decision-making, but we also don't get caught back here and end up in the same, I guess, decision, which is, does it meet the code requirements? And the answer to that is yes.
Sure. So the communications already existed between the applicant, the city, and the county, and that's what we're asking them to do more of. So we're here just to see, does it meet code and move forward? They've already tried to talk to them.
So, did I understand you to say that part of this dilemma was created because the county wanted you to ante up $700,000, $800,000, and the developer did not want to do that, and that's what's sort of got us in this position now?
Well,
It's
in
to
part-
save the developer money, basically.
Well, no. And I'll let the engineer again speak to this. The problem was the county didn't do the upgrade that would have been necessary, and they chose to do that. They did not choose to put the mast arm that they would have preferred out there to accommodate what would be another connection point at that light. And that's in writing, I think, from Tad to the city reflecting that was a conscious decision by the county. So in lieu of that, they said, okay, well, we're going to modify what we would otherwise probably more traditionally look to, which is a connection route at that light, and we're going to shift it to the east because of our decision-making with the school board. That was how that came to be. It wasn't that the developer said, well, we don't want to pay $800,000, which would be an exorbitant amount of money for an 80-unit development. That's an astronomical amount for any traffic improvement on 80 units.
But if you paid that, could you get that?
Yes.
If you paid the $700,000, $800,000, then would you be able to do it the way you wish?
I mean, basically, we had a plan that two things. We'd have to build the left turn lane into the site, and so we were prepared to do that, and we were prepared to modify the signal. So if they were to allow the signal to be modified as a strain pole versus having to go rebuild as a mast arm, I think we would absolutely have taken that, geez, what was that, a year ago? Almost a year ago.
But they said if you'll rebuild it, you can do it.
If you rebuild it as a full mast arm,
Yeah.
changing, then.
But they allowed
Yes.
that.
Yeah, they were requiring us to, after like the third submittal, saying, now we want you to upgrade the full
And
entire
it's-
signal.
And it's
Yes.
very expensive.
Between that and the turn lanes, it's a much bigger cost than that. But if you do the strain pole signal with the turn lanes, then yes, that's
Sure.
more doable.
But they're not approving that.
Right, correct.
Gotcha. So really, at the end of the day, it's a matter of, going to cost the developer more money to do it the way it would be the safest.
Well, no, it's a function of county
Let
permitting.
me ask the question. If you were to do it with the proper traffic light, it would be safer. Than going down and making a U-turn, would it be safer?
I think we're going down a little bit of a rabbit hole, though, because the same would be true of any improvement on the property. If I took 10 units off the property, it would generate less traffic, and that would be less cost. It's not a function of what I guess I can take off the table. It's a function of permitting, and the county is dictating that this is what meets county code. This is what we've deemed would be acceptable for our roadway network. So the question becomes, is that meet the minimum requirements of the Land Development Code for the city of New Smyrna, which it has to. We're happy to have that discussion to encourage the county to do what we think is more rational, which is I think the recommendation of the traffic engineer. But if the county doesn't take us up on that offer, there's countless ways that you can relay this out in a way that would, I guess, change the impacts and the mix of the impacts. It's not a question of that. It's a question of whether it meets the requirements.
But don't you think really it's a question of safety? I mean, the simple way is to go down and make a U-turn. I think our hang-up is the safety part of it. This is 80 more units, and you've got, as they've stated, colleges, high schools, elementary around the corner. That's my thing is, geez, there's a lot of traffic there, number one. And if number two, you take people, you don't know who's going to move into this new subdivision. What if they're all as old as me? So they don't see well, et cetera, et cetera. I hope they're not either.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
But what I'm sharing with you is can I get a good deal? No, but I'm sharing with you is making people do what you're asking them to do with this U-turn, et cetera, is dangerous. It's different. And a newbie is not going to know to go down and head on over to 44. A new person's going to make that U-turn to get up to Mission and head on over out to 44. And I think that's what you're finding is little.
Oh, no, and I recognize that. It's just that puts the developer in a precarious situation because what we're being asked to do is something that essentially tell the county that we don't, the way you've deemed that is permittable and that follows your regulations, that isn't an acceptable answer. A different answer, which again, I think we can all agree, we understand, and from an engineer's perspective, that there's a different layout that I think would be preferable for everybody. But what we're asking today is whether we meet the requirements. And if that answer is yes, then I'm stuck just as much as everyone else is stuck, because you have to follow the permitting of the jurisdictional authority with the permitting power. I'm happy to have those discussions. I just don't know if it's going to get us to a position where we have a material change and, again, we get caught in this catch-22 circle again, where there's no movement.
I think if I could, he's just saying the codes are met.
Can we approve this based on the proper traffic light being put in there?
Oh, good question.
So you can approve it. You can approve it with a recommendation, or you could deny it. It will still go to City Commission. So if you'd like to approve it with a recommendation, the parties continue to talk, you could certainly make that. There will also be public hearings on this at the City Commission meetings. I imagine you still have some more road to go with the county. There may be public hearings on that as well. And I think if people are concerned, which clearly they are, they can continue to come out and speak on this. And perhaps the applicant and the county come out in a different place in the future, but that's beyond the scope of what we're doing this evening, as this is a county road.
But we can make a recommendation.
That to encourage them to continue to engage with the county, that the City Commission considers that, yes.
And I mean, maybe to offer just a little extra, I'm okay with even identifying the issue as you perceive it. Like, I'm okay with that, so.
I just want the city, the commission, to know how concerned we are. Should we vote this across the board? Yes. That our concern is, and that's all. To me, it's.
I think we're pushing it forward, but it will be noted. The idea we either do or we don't, but we're just pushing it forward to be discussed with our recommendation. Nothing's final here.
No, I understand.
Yeah, just.
So if you make a recommendation for approval with a caveat for whatever you'd like to add, that will be added to the commission staff report. And so they will see the note that you had concern on whichever items you wanted.
Okay.
Note.
Thank you. So, is there a motion to recommend approval of the requested final plat?
A recommendation to City Commission.
Yeah, recommendation.
Recommendation for approval.
Is there a recommend approval of the requested final plat, whatever you'd like to add, whoever? motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend to the city council to approve this request with the condition that the developer, in conjunction with representatives of the city, engage the county road planning staff regarding the exit and entrance to this, the safety of it, the need for a different plan that would allow traffic control to be more amenable and minimize U-turns and potential safety issues.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Stephanie, can you call a roll vote?
Member Bean?
Yes.
Member Causey?
Yes.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Holver-Shorn?
No.
Member Hodges?
I vote no for one reason. That U-turn was put in if the train breaks down so the people can U-turn and go out, so I say no.
And Vice Chair Yates?
Yes.
All right. On the motion to recommend approval, the City Commission for S-1-25 Final Plat Flagler Dunes with the conditions, the vote is, what is it? 1, 2,
4 to 2.
3. Oh, 4, yeah, 4 in favor, 2 opposed. Yes. The motion passes.
Okay.
And you still have the second half, because
Yes.
this was a two-parter.
Yes.
Since the site plan is a final stop here, that motion would be, and we'd be okay with recommending on the outcome of the final plat be conditional on that too. So depending on the outcome of the final plat, so rather it not, magically go away.
So do I have a motion to recommend to the City Commission to approve the Flagler Dunes final plat as, so it's that one.
So
Okay, now you got to go to site plan approval.
Right, you guys just voted on final plat recommendation,
Yes.
and now you're voting on the
Motion.
site plan, and this is not going to commission, this is,
So this is for 4C?
yes.
Yes. Do I have a motion for 4C?
Well, I'd like a question first. We're talking about the site plan. Isn't the driveway part of the site plan?
Yes.
That's why I had recommended that we condition the site plan approval on the outcome of the final plat.
Yeah.
So if that condition goes with that site plan motion, then the outcome of the plat will dictate the answer to the site plan's outcome.
It's just connected?
Correct.
Yeah, but they're two separate motions. Is that my understanding correct? Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that the recommendation to the city council on the previous final plat be tied in together with the site plan approval so that they are dependent upon each other.
I think for phrasing's sake, you're recommending approval of the site plan condition on final approval of the plat by City Commission.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Does that need to be restated, or?
Yeah, who was the second? Was there a second?
We haven't got a
We
second.
do not have a second on the approval of the site plan.
Yeah, give me a second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Stephanie?
Who seconded? You did? Okay. All right, Member Bean?
Yes.
Member Holver-Shorn?
Yes.
Member Causey?
No.
Member Hall?
No.
Member Yates?
Yes.
And, Member Hodges, I meant to put you last.
That's
Yeah.
a still no.
No. Wow. So actually, this fails.
Yes, this motion fails, so. So at this time, you'll have to bring the site plan back for another yeah, the motion failed.
Unless we could address Member Hall's concerns, or if that's how the outcome, but.
Sorry, I don't hear you.
Or is there a specific motion on that, for reconsideration that, Member Hall, did you wanted to see, or?
I'm just trying to figure out if this is a situation where it's all about, to be quite honest with you.
Sure.
Is it all about the developer not wanting to spend $700,000 to $800,000 that they could spend and make this all go away? And I understand that's it's a tremendous amount of money. And per 80 units, a lot of money. But those 80 units are not really on that large of a piece of property. They're going to exit into a tremendous amount of traffic. And I thought, it's just too much. And so I go no on the site plan because it's not the way I feel it's safe again. So I'm kind of like in a position that if we can't get that traffic light figured out, and I just want the commission to know that's what we're all about. It's really a big deal to me in that neighborhood, and I know the neighborhood very well too.
Understood. And maybe legal counsel clarification, is this preclude us from coming back for consideration of the site plan?
Real quick, Joey, I just want for the record, the vote is 3-3, so it is a tie. So once it's tied, it's a no vote.
Right.
Okay?
Right, and ultimately, this would still move forward. It would depend on whether or not that plat got approved by the city commission anyway, in terms of the site plan, so it could come back at a future point on the site plan, pending, obviously, approval of city commission of the plat.
But to be clear, we're not precluded from bringing it back for consideration.
Not on 3-3. Yeah, I can follow up with you on that.
The motion died.
Well, you'd be reviewing a slightly different application if we get this road thing put through at the light right there. So, I mean, it could come back. And then we got to remember, this did meet everything in the city's jurisdiction, and we're dealing with a county matter on the rest of this, so.
But it also, from my point of view, it also lacks a lot. Shows nothing about additional parking. And you're going to have more than 2 cars. Whether you're going to have visitors, you're going to have teenagers that grow up, because it's 3 bedrooms. There's going to be more and more cars coming in there. And we owe it to the future residents to have a place for them to park and easily maneuver, because some of your drawings make it look like it's a 2-way street. Some of it makes it look like it's a 1-way street with on-street parking. So, you've got to look forward.
Oh, I understand, noted.
Yeah.
I just wanted for clarifications to understand the process moving forward. So with that, then that's all I have.
Thank you. Well, I've lost my place.
5A. We are on 5A. Jake,
We're on new
will
business.
you close the?
Okay, new business. Review and give a recommendation to the City Commission to a proposed regulation and definitions creating Section 803.32 for a process to review certified recovery residences as required under Senate Bill 954. City staff, do you have a report?
I do. I'm going to try to read as fast as I can here. This is a state requirement. Okay, proposed request on June 25th, 2025, the Florida governor signed Senate Bill 954 requiring all local counties and municipalities to adopt an ordinance to establish procedures for the review and approval of certified recovery residences. This bill is an amendment to Florida Statute 397.487 and is required to be adopted by January 1st, 2026. The proposed definitions are based on Florida Statute 397.311 are to be put into Section 20100 of the LDR. The definitions include certified recovery residence means a recovery residence that holds a valid certificate of compliance and is actively managed by a certified recovery residence administrator. And certified recovery residence administrator means a recovery residence administrator who holds a valid certificate of compliance. Those aren't our definitions, these are from the state on this. It also creates procedures for the review and approval of an application for a certified recovery residence based on Florida Statute 397-487. All recovery residences as defined by Florida statute as amended shall be reviewed and approved or denied if the following criteria are established. All applications must meet the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988 and Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act. An application for a certified recovery residence shall be submitted to the City Planning Department for processing and review. The application shall be date stamped when received. The applicant shall be notified in writing within the first 30 days of the submittal if additional information or documents are required. The applicant shall have 30 days to respond and provide the additional information or additional documents that have been requested. The Planning Department shall issue a final written determination of the application within 60 days after receipt of a completed application. Determination must approve the request in whole or in part with or without conditions or deny the request, stating with specificity the objective evidence-based reasons for denial and identifying any deficiencies or actions necessary for reconsideration. If the final written determination is not issued within 60 days after the receipt of a completed application, the request is deemed approved unless the parties agree in writing to a reasonable extension of time. So the proposed request, 7, the application shall require the following information at a minimum: name and contact information, a copy of Recovery Residence Administration certification, Florida Association of Recovery Residences location certification, address, parcel ID number, survey or site plan, existing and proposed floor plan, a description including the number of beds requested, of the accommodation requested and services provided, which relief is sought of any reasonable accommodation from any land development regulation that would prohibit a certified recovery residence. This is staff approval only, no public hearings with city boards or city commission are required. Approval of a certified recovery residence may be revoked for cause, including but not limited to a violation of the conditions of approval or the lapse, revocation, or failure to maintain certification or licensure required the state of Florida if not reinstated within 180 days. The application of Florida Statute 397.487 does not supersede any current or future declaration or declaration of condominium adopted pursuant to Chapter 718, any cooperative document adopted pursuant to Chapter 719, or any declaration or declaration of covenant adopted pursuant to Chapter 720. We recommend the City Commission approve the proposed regulation.
Well done.
Any questions?
Yeah, what is this all about? I'm sorry.
Basically,
if I'm the only dummy up here, I'll take that.
The state basically says that you cannot deny a recovery residence in a neighborhood. If it's relatively small in nature, we have an application that they fill out and they go for it. If it gets of a certain size, there's a little site plan that might be involved.
I guess the question, what is a recovery residence? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I just wasn't sure what the whole thing was brought forward over.
Could you explain what a recovery residence is?
Well, I think it's what it sounds like. It's for people that are in recovery for addiction issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Transitional housing, basically.
And as the state says that we don't have control over it.
Is there any tie-in with the existing LDR zoning requirements as to, we're thinking housing units, thinking density. Here you're going to have density as a function of people housed. It would concern me if it was a 100-unit.
If it gets to a certain size, it becomes like a Class 2 site plan and everything else. So it isn't just a full-on. They could do what they want. If you have it of a certain size, you'd have to be reviewed for parking and for everything else.
And what is that size?
Class 2 site plan is 500 square feet and above. So they're putting up something new that would above that for this type of use.
And
that
how
would
large?
class as Class 2 site plan, which is reviewed in-house up to 25,000 feet, which trips into your Class 3 site plan. And I don't think I could ever imagine anything that size coming in that would be like that.
So how large in square footage can the building be and still be a Class 2 site plan?
25,000 square feet. $24,999.
For class 3.
And what is the trigger in square footage that a site plan is required?
Class 1 is 500 square feet and less, and then Class 2 is above that. And if it's an existing building and they're doing some minor modifications in it, it would just be to the building department and this application process.
So you're saying if they're doing 500 square feet, they got to have a site plan?
That's anything in the city. Yeah, if you're doing anything that's over 500 square feet in the city, it's a Class 2 site plan where engineering looks at it, the building department looks at it, planning department looks at it, and that goes from 500 to 24,999. That's the same, basically, site plan.
Same thing, 'cause
Unless-
it's the same thing it's always been, correct?
Unless it's
the
in a
city?
residential zoning district. So I think this is really for residential zoning housing.
Yeah.
It's saying that you can't deny someone from bringing this business into a residential neighborhood as long as they meet the conditions. And I think they're trying to amend the state statute so that this is in our code so that it cannot be denied because it is not in our codes.
For that reason alone?
Yes.
Yes. It could be denied for other reasons, but not that reason alone.
Right.
Yeah, but would it be possible if somebody came in and let's say had a building 5,000 square feet, 4,000 square feet, whatever, requires site planning and was able to get enough parking and so forth, and it was going to house 20 people, and they could put that in a residential district that has, one house, 4 houses per acre maybe, that typically consists of 2 or 3, maybe 4 people. I think I'd find it objectionable. How is that tied in?
I hear your point, and this is kind of one of those things that are handed down to us. It doesn't really give you a whole lot of sway in the whole thing. But yeah, it does go into pretty sizable numbers of patients that could be into a place.
If we object to that, then what does that mean? You've done your job?
It's Florida state law.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that as you listen to the presentation, he
I did.
makes a recommendation that you move it forward to city commission, that move it forward to city commission as Florida state law.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, it's not one of those things that we get a lot of say over. It's kind of like you have to have this on your books by January 1st, 2026. Sure. And
But to be clear, there's lots of other reasons not to move forward on anything that, it's just not for that reason, to be denied, if I can be clear again. Okay. Any more questions for staff? If not, public participation is open. If no public participation, we will close that. Public hearing is closed. City staff, any further comments? Discussions of the board? Okay. Is there a motion to recommend to the city commission to approve ZT 000?
I make a motion to recommend the city commission approve the proposed regulations and definition for certified recovery residents based on the amended Florida statute.
Do I have a second?
Who seconded? You did. Okay. Both said it at the same time.
Sorry.
Member Holvershorn?
Yes.
Member Kazi?
Yes.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Bean?
Yes.
Member Hodges?
Yes.
And Vice Chair Yates.
Yes.
On the motion to recommend approval of City Commission for ZT-8-25, the vote is 6 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passes.
Okay. So are we on, this is a review to give a recommendation to the city commission on a proposed annexation, small-scale comprehensive plan amendment, and a rezoning on approximately 7.6 land located at 390 Sugar Mill Drive. City staff, do you have a report?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
I'm Jeff Go from the Planning Department. Here tonight for 3 separate applications that are all combined on this one piece of property. It's in unincorporated Volusia County, so of course the first one would be annexation. The second one is a comprehensive plan amendment. The property now with the county designation is urban medium intensity for residential use, and that has a cap of 8 units an acre. It also was designated PUD in the county back in 2005, and there was an approved plan for 93 multifamily residential units on the property at that time. That's expired. You can see the site up there. It's 7.5 acres, 7.6 acres. That's relatively cleared with a big pond in the front area next to Sugar Mill Drive. There's very little surrounding it in terms of development. To the north is a 100-foot wide utilities corridor that has power lines and underground utilities from our utility company. And around the property to the west and the south is some uplands, majority is wetlands, and a lot of it is in conservation easement. So we don't anticipate any development anywhere surrounding the property. What's the closest is the Coastal Woods property across the other side of that utility corridor. Again, the previous PUD is now expired, so they came to us with this idea for RV and boat storage on this property. In order to do that, the comprehensive plan, future land use designation had to allow that use. If we use the same one in the city as what we typically do, medium intensity residential, that wouldn't work. So they went up to commercial and voluntarily stipulated that the limitations on that same city medium intensity would apply to this property. And that would be that it would be a maximum 8 units an acre rather than the 18 that it could be in commercial. Even though there's no residential use proposed on the property, we can't be sure what might happen in the future, so we're limiting that with a note on the comprehensive land use map. The other limitation is for floor area ratio. The existing future land use designation doesn't allow anything more than 0.5 floor area ratio, and they voluntarily stipulated to that too, instead of the 2.0 that could be possible in commercial future land use. So that said, the annexation part and the comprehensive plan amendment part is settled. Now we're down to the rezoning, and it's being requested to be rezoned to PUD. It already is zoned PUD in the county with an expired master development agreement. And they have submitted the master development agreement for this property for RV and boat storage, a maximum of 147 spaces. Those would be in 2 enclosed buildings along the north and east property line. And that would screen anything that would be parked in the interior of the property, in the parking lot there. South of the northernmost building there's 2 rows of parking, which may or may not be under canopy. They're asking for the option of that. But one of the things we see here is the property is relatively isolated, and there's a lot of screening itself that they're proposing, and also from whatever's adjacent. They worked with the county a little bit on the driveway entrance. They're on that curve there. There's not a whole lot of, I guess, alternatives. They don't have that much frontage, so that still needs to be decided. This is just a PUD to allow the use in this concept plan. It would still be a site plan to follow, and in this case, because of the size of the buildings, I'm not sure if they're over the 25,000 square feet threshold or not, but if they are, they'll be coming back to the planning board for approval there. I think that's most of the points that were used in our evaluation. We see the potential benefits being a reduction in additional daily traffic, obviously from what was approved for 93 residential units or even a lesser amount to instead be less than 150 RV boat storage spaces. We don't really anticipate that would be a daily use on this property. So that's one of the big benefits that we see, especially in Sugar Mill, that area. People complain about anything adding to the traffic impacts, and this would be as minimal as it could be that, from what we can see. And the fact that it's relatively isolated, no adjacent neighbors, and it's a storage use, so besides the fact that you're bringing your vehicles or boats in and out, there's really no activity that we would see as harmful to the neighborhood. And that said, I think I got all my points out, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions from the board?
Did that have like bathrooms or clean out stations?
They do have something like that on their site plan, I believe.
So, looks like one dump station.
Yeah.
I couldn't see it.
There's a tank dump lane at the east end of the open canopy storage spaces on the conceptual plan, so they have provided for that.
And didn't see anywhere that they plan on having a wash station?
I don't know, you could ask the developer.
Okay.
Does the city future land use, quote-unquote, commercial, does that allow industrial use?
With this kind of use, it's kind of been thrown into industrial, but if we did that and classified it industrial, it would open up to a whole different realm. So many warehouses or storage, they're as much of a retail use, commercial retail, as they are industrial, because they really don't generate any noxious thing off-site, so.
Right, but isn't it required for a boat storage, RV storage to be in an industrial zoning classification?
No, it's not required. We see this as a retail operation, so.
For boat storage and RV storage?
Right. It allows for that, but there's other zoning districts that also allow for it, like B3, that allows for it, and that's under a commercial future land use.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Down the road, will they potentially be required to possibly have a turn lane going into the property and maybe a decel on the other side? As you know, RVs are very, very slow moving.
Right.
when they're making their turns, et cetera. And I was just thinking, if they're complaining about traffic now, this is a great use. That's not a problem. I just wondered, is that down the road as far as a design on the street itself?
That is down the road, and it is a county road, so it's,
Up to
again,
the
out of our control. We're hoping they don't make them do U-turns.
If they do that, they don't want to get in front of us.
Any more questions from the board? Thank you.
The applicant and his engineer are here.
Okay. Would they like to come up?
I'm here to get beat up again. Joey Posey, 420 South Nova, attorney for the applicant. Hold on, let me pull this up real quick.
His is on the computer if you just cross it.
So I guess to echo what Jeff said, there was a couple clarifications that we'll touch on as we're moving through this, but it's existing in county. It has had an RPUD in 2005 that allowed for 94 townhomes. which is consistent with the future land use of medium-density residential, which is 8 units per acre, and the FAR .05. I don't think Jeff meant to say this, but I think he said that the urban medium intensity is a residential future land use. Well, that isn't quite correct. It does allow commercial entitlements for neighborhood businesses and shopping centers too. That's outlined in the comp plan. So it does have a commercial component, which is why there's an FAR in the county's medium density residential. This is the previous approval that was the RPUD. It was just a very simple townhome development. It's currently zoned RPUD. It's currently Volusia County urban medium intensity. And when you read the county's comp plan, there's presumed compatible classifications that by right you'd be entitled to. R5 is a 50-foot lot subdivision. R6 is a 2-family classification. MH1 is mobile home parks. These are all presumed compatible in the county's comp plan. The original PUD, like I had mentioned, is 94 multifamily residential dwellings. That's how they classified them in 2005, which essentially were a townhome product. It also allowed for 186 spaces. That was explicit in that original agreement. It had a minimum open space requirement of 20%, 45-foot building height, and there was 2 points of access originally contemplated. So, in terms of traffic and impacts, it had a much higher generation and a much higher impact to Sugar Mill if the original owner decided that he wanted to move forward with that. This is essentially trying to, what I think in my mind is address those impacts. Storage facilities by their nature have very little traffic generation. Of course, they have, a big, an RV can be a big object that moves on the traffic network, but in terms of actual use, they generate maybe a handful of trips, and it's simply a drop off and leave alone for a month or two and then get back to it and pick it up. That's how the nature of these facilities work. They don't put much demand on the public system. In this case, it won't have a wash station or anything like that, so it's minimum public utility impacts. There's it's a quiet use, from a buffer and transitional sense. It doesn't have coming and going. It's park and leave alone. It reduces noise, traffic, and even in visual concerns, you see a lot of these facilities try to use the exterior of the project to keep the RVs isolated and not a visual frame for people that may be driving by or may be impacted from adjoining development. And there is just a growing need, given the rise in a lot of apartment complexes and a lot of HOA-controlled subdivisions that you don't have a place for these. They need, people do want to travel. They want to put their RV somewhere, their boat somewhere, and in a lot of these communities, you have nowhere to put them. So there is a need and a demand for them that something like this would be, I think, well served for the area. In terms of layout, there's a historic tree on site that we're designing around, so there's no issues on the location of that tree. The PUD, as we've crafted it, it's only one use. It's just a boat and RV storage. So from a PUD perspective, we would have to come back and go through the whole process again if there was a change of use. And we're willing to limit the future land use entitlements to essentially what are the same entitlements allowed in the county. So in terms of a density allocation and intensity, I don't see even the density one is more of just a formality, but we were just matching and echoing what would otherwise be the entitlements permitted under the county. And it's the way we've designed it, it's a very nice facility. To have the exterior walls, it's set back substantially from the roadway with the pond and try to make use of that existing pond feature on the property. And really, it would be essentially tucked away. It has a lot of stacking just to contemplate the coming and going of RVs and boats. And I would be hard-pressed to think that, from the roadside, you may be able to see it in the distance, but that is a substantial distance. There's just the nature of things that I've been hearing some things about this property that I just wanted to make clear for the record and some folks on social media. There was a discussion about whether Coastal Woods had a right to use this property. That's not true. That arrangement that they're speaking to is a property north of the power line, and it's part of the common area for the Coastal Woods subdivision. I want to get ahead of this, just so everybody understands this. And that was an agreement that GeoSim had to trade a covenant they had over that property that they ended up using as part of their subdivision that the Geiger Cemetery had a restriction over. So that was the nature of their dealings. It had nothing to do with this property. This property's been entitled since 2005, separate owners, long before Coastal Woods is even considered. And the same thing is true, and this is the copy of the quitclaim from that time with that restriction. And they had released it by 2017 when Coastal Woods was going through their platting process. So again, apples and oranges, not relevant to this piece of property, but I at least want to get it on the record for folks so they don't feel as if this is something as part of Coastal Woods development that there's a sleight of hand happening here, which there isn't. And then the other thing was just the idea of the ability for accessibility for Sugar Mill. This property, once had an RPUD, it's entitled for up to 8 units per acre under the urban medium intensity. It has conditional categories that would allow a very intense development if traffic is the concern. So, I had another slide here that I wish I put in, but, if the generation itself, if you just take the 94 units and you compare it against what we're proposing, it's a 94.2% reduction in trips. So if traffic is the concern, I think the lowest common denominator is pick the use that has the least amount of traffic. That's just my opinion, and I think that's a benefit, given I think some of the push that folks have been seeing in that area. And I drove it the other day. I was curious how Pioneer was coming along, and I get it. It's a little chaotic over there, but if there's a way to try to get some of these properties entitled in a way that takes the burden off, that's a win in my opinion. I appreciate planning staff's recommendation and all of the details they went through. Other than that, it's in my mind a plan that complements the area because there's a need. It's not an intense use. It's very far set back from the property and would have a facade to it that would be very visually appealing from the roadside. And other than that, if there's any questions or anything we can do better, we're happy to try to talk through any concerns, but we're here for questions. The project engineer is here, so if there's specific concerns with the design that we can address, we're happy to. But in terms of use and if traffic is the concern, this makes some sense, and compatibility-wise, it's the same entitlements from a commercial perspective that would otherwise be permissible under the county. So I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Board have any questions?
Where does that stormwater retention pond fit in? What does it drain, and will this impact the drainage into that pond?
Harry?
Harry Newkirk Engineering, 1230 North US Highway 1, Ormond Beach. So the site has an existing wet pond on it. The site will be required to be designed per the new St. John's River Water Management District rules, which are more stringent than the Land Development Code of New Smyrna Beach. Site has to filter. You have to filter water on these new sites. So you remove nitrogen and phosphorus, go into the downstream ditch, which is on Sugar Mill. A lot of residents don't understand what nutrient loading is, but when you hear it, you should be very happy because it's more stormwater on a site, more than we used to have to make it work. So we're going to utilize the wet pond that's up front. It's going to increase in size. It's going to be larger than it is now. It's going to be the node of the stormwater system that does your attenuation after treatment volume. So upstream, underneath the parking lot and some dry retention areas, we're going to pre-treat in dry retention mode to remove nitrogen and phosphorus. Then it's going to overflow and go into this wet pond up front. And then it's eventually going to go into the ditches across the front and head to the creek. So we have to design up to a 100-year storm event. It's going to discharge less rate, which is how fast the water comes off the site, and volume, how much we put in the ditch. We have to put less than it, than right now in the condition where you see raw land and the retention pond. So from a perspective of stormwater, we are going to put less, so we're going to have more water for the adjacent properties to get into the canal system and lower flood stages downstream, upstream. I'm not aware of any upstream issues. It's mainly downstream. So the new rules, more on site, more percolation on site instead of just running right off. So that kind of a little example of how the system will work in general speaking.
Thank you.
Hopefully that answered your question. Yeah, that's
Sufficiently,
thank you.
yes. Thank you. Any other questions by the board?
Is the entire interior of the site between the two outer buildings paved?
Except for the islands, I think, right? Yes, except for the two islands that are adjacent to the
Okay,
the overhead.
Any other questions?
Just, will be assured that the final product will look very close to your rendering? It's one of the best-looking RV sites I've seen.
I was reluctant to include it, but we did.
Thank you.
'Cause I was-
And we did it to represent what that's the intent of the gentleman who wants to build it, so that's what he's built.
While I was going through the package, I kept looking to see, okay, what kind of fence are they gonna put up? And I was hoping you're gonna put up a concrete wall block similar to one of the others in the neighborhood, but this is far superior to that. And it does look very appealing.
Thank you. Public participation is now open.
Is there any way I can get that first map back up, the aerial view, the very first one?
It's slow.
Before,
Which one do you want?
Before that one. There, yeah, you had it.
This one, this one?
Yes, that one right there.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Robert Fike. I live in Coastal Woods, and I'm here tonight at the urging of the residents of Coastal Woods to get you guys to deny the annexation from the county into the city, deny the rezoning from the residential to commercial, and then, of course, deny the PUD. Now, if you take a look here, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see how close this development is to Coastal Woods, and that's Tate and Trace. I went out there and walked, couldn't go very far. It's all muddy and full of water. And you start wondering here, why is there a retention basin in the front? Well, it's because of the water, the way it drains. And why don't we have any impact statements? Why don't we have any studies about the flow of water? Because this project will disrupt the water table. Definitely. There's flood zones all around this property. And if you build this property up, which they'll probably do, if you look at the apartments there on Sugar Mill, they've built them up. Water's going to run off. This is going to be built up. Water's going to run off. They can't build those houses there any higher on Tatum. So they're going to get water. Is it fair to those residents to get water from this project, 147 spaces of storage for boats and RVs? Now, someone talked about the traffic. we're landlocked with traffic. The I-95 interchange has pretty much taken care of one road there. We do have a lot of traffic on Sugar Mill, and this is only going to add to it in a way that it's going to disrupt people. You're going to get people that want to go around it, the RVs, the boats, and you know the boats are going to come here from Orlando. The Orlando people are going to bring their boats and store them here. So on the weekends, this place is going to be just crazy.
Thank you, sir. So your time
Yes.
is up. Thank you.
Okay. So I guess I just ask you guys if you can deny these for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Knapp, and I do live on Tate and Trace currently, 2913.
Ms. Nancy, can you just state your address, please?
2913 Tate and Trace. And I took exception to relatively isolated. If you all have been in this area, that's not a very far walk between those, you know, between the one's cul-de-sac here on Tate, and on the other side, there's another cul-de-sac. It's just like a wishbone, a dog bone, I think is what they call it. We went through, I moved there with my husband in 2018. We have survived Ian. We have survived Nicole and Milton. I didn't get any flooding. We have retention ponds that are not full to the brim. That retention pond, please feel free to go by it, or pond right now, that is full. I've looked at, if you go down Sugar Mill, 2 lanes, the gentleman who talked about turning with boats, this is only a 2-lane road. We're gonna have some more traffic coming. I'm not thinking just now, but when the Pioneer Trail exit from 95 gets built out, people can come down Sugar Mill that way. You have only 2 lanes. So how are you gonna be moving some of these boats and everything? Other people are trying to get to 44 because not only is Coastal Woods there, you have another subdivision right by there as well that's also feeding into it, plus everything in the back of Sugar Mill, the country club area that they've had. All those people can be coming down Sugar Mill. It's going to be very highly trafficked, and especially if you get boats turning and that. I'm just very concerned about traffic, safety, and I'm also concerned big time about storm, because I haven't been flooded, so I'd like to know the name of the firm that is saying, geez, it's gonna do just fine. So when I do flood, I wanna know who to contact, because there has to be due diligence, because it's not just this one, there's a synergistic effect going on, especially with those canals, whatever they call them, the little canals on the sides. If you go down there now, you're gonna see that they're not empty. They haven't been empty for a long, long time. So if we do get a hurricane like Ian that dumped tons of water, I don't think that's a 100-year flood. We got it, and we got it a lot. And my concern is...
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, is just that.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marvel Richards, and I live at 1099 Clubhouse Boulevard in the country club community there that the lady just referenced. Absolutely, that water is in those ditches all the way up Sugar Mill, around 44, as far as you can see, both sides, all the time. It's never empty, never. The hospital is going to be built at 44 and Sugar Mill. The emergency entrance to the hospital is going to be on Sugar Mill. The main entrance will be on 44. I serve on a board. I know this is a fact. It is true. There's going to be a medical park built behind the hospital. We have those new apartments there, the one-story apartments, and those apartments are very close to this land. It's a very narrow strip that's there. I just don't believe a boat storage is what we need there. They're going to pave it. The flooding is going to be worse. The traffic is going to be worse. How are people going to, we're going to deal with boats and trailers now to get to the new hospital or to come in from 44 to get into, this just doesn't belong in our community there, in my opinion. My other question is, it's on a very dangerous curve. That's the other thing. You all might check that out. It's the most dangerous curve on Sugar Mill Road, where that is going to be. I guess that's all. I just hope that you all really think this through, especially with what's coming in the next 3 years. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Claudia Vanderhorst, 562 Aeolian Drive. I live in the Isles of Sugar Mill, which is in front of Coastal Woods, right at the corner of Pioneer and Sugar Mill. Those ditches are our lifesaver. Our storm system empties into those ditches, and we have flooded. The capacity, the volume coming east, it's infiltrated our community during Ian. I never want to see that happen again. The more water that comes down Sugar Mill and heads north to get to Turnbull, we're underwater. We're the lowest elevation. There's some serious things about this consideration of the annex doesn't bother me as much as a change to the comprehensive plan. It's part of residential. There's no commercial in there. If it's annexed, then correct me if I'm wrong, but if it is annexed, then New Smyrna Beach's comprehensive plan overrules what was county. So any commercial can't be built in there. Owners have vested rights. We invested in our properties in Serena Lakes, in the Landings, in the Isles, in Coastal Woods, in Sugar Mill. We invested in our properties thinking this was a residential, comprehensive community area. There was no mention of commercial. Those vested rights are at stake. They will be compromised if you put that in there. There's a thing called spot zoning. And what that means is if something is zoned residential and there's a zoning change request to take a section of it out and make it something different, like exactly what this is, it's spot zoning. There's a lot of legal arguments against it, and a lot of cases have been won because it's not allowed. There's no good justification to spot zone commercial in the middle of this huge residential and medical community that's going to be built within the next 48 months. You all talked about safety in the previous plan that was presented. The road concerns of school buses, emergency vehicles, current residents, future residents, and the exchange that's going to unload on Sugar Mill puts all of us at risk, all of us at risk. This is not the appropriate place for this. And I know I bought my house in 2017 thinking this was a residential community. There was not going to be commercial here. A boat storage doesn't belong here except to ruin what we already have. So I highly encourage you, do not approve this. Do not approve the zoning change. Leave it as residential for the sake of those of us that have invested in our homes and our properties here already. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Robin Marcus. I'm in Coastal Woods, 2972 Gibraltar Boulevard. I just wanted to, ask all of you if you've been on Sugar Mill lately and if you've seen the water in those ditches to the right and left of the road. With the new development that they just or are continuing to build, I believe the speed limit is 45 miles an hour on that part of Sugar Mill. You've got Panera, and even though people are told and the signs say that you cannot come out of that area and make a left on Sugar Mill to get back out to 44, people do that all the time. My thought is the flooding is going to be incredible if this gets passed. Traffic is crazy, and accidents are going to happen if people are going the way that they're not supposed to go, but also if you've got a boat or an RV coming and it's 45 miles an hour, they're never going to be able to get out of there. The flooding, the signs for the flooding on the road, you know, be careful, water on the road, it's just going to get so much worse. I would ask your consideration for this to be denied. There is no reason why we should have another facility, another addition added to this small little portion of road going out to 44. The hospital, again, is just another example of getting a lot of cars, a lot of people, a lot of traffic, and a lot of safety concerns